Kia ora. Kia ora and welcome to the second and final meeting of the Strategy and Planning Committee for the current triennium. So I'd just like to start to the front here. Kua rongo, kua rau, kua waho, kua roto, kua te haere kanta, rongo te pō, rongo te o, nui e, Yes, so welcome everybody to this committee meeting of the Strategy and Planning Committee. Welcome to everybody online. I don't think we have Anita's online. Welcome, Anita, and people in the chamber. This is a public meeting and it's being recorded. Could you get over to this page? Apologies. We have an apology from Matua Edward Ellison, and we actually have a note from Karen Coates, EB representative, who may be late. She's had a meeting changed put on her in Wellington, I believe, but she's going to attempt to link in when she can. And we have an apology for Kevin Malcolm, I believe, for this meeting. Yeah, we'll be here this afternoon. So someone like to move. Thanks, Gretchen and Kate. Thank you. Public forum. We have no public forum. Confirmation of the agenda. Any additions to the agenda? If not, the agenda be confirmed. Declaration of interests. Just a reminder to all councillors that if they have any perceived conflict of interest to declare prior to discussion being taken. Presentations. We have no presentations. Confirmation of the minutes of the last committee of the Environment Strategy Planning Committee. I've got one small amendment just to highlight and the matters for consideration. 9.1 Regional Pest Management Review. First paragraph amendment was made to recommend the recommendation 4 to change the Environment South to all South Island unitary or regional and unitary councils. So just the minutes refers to recommendation 4 and actually it's recommendation 3 that refers to. So it's just a change of 4 to 3. Does anybody else have any other amendments to the previous meeting's minutes? If not, we have somebody move those true and correct. We've got Andrew and Alan. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Actions from previous meetings. I've had a look at those and they all look like they're pretty much all in hand. Code, you have a question on that?
Well, I raised this the other day when you and I had meeting staff. I'm just concerned that that the last matter isn't going to be considered until the 1st of December. We'll have a new council by then when we've got expertise in that area sitting around the table that may or may not be here for that. And I think I had hoped that we may have considered or used some of the governance experience currently around the table, at least to talk into that space first. That's the Regional Pest Management Plan Review and Environmental, and looking at a council reference group, that the knowledge around this table could feed into what that might look like so that it's set up well from the start rather than what could be a very different council. And so I just wanted to make that comment and whether there's time or expertise available to do that in the next wee while, I'm not sure, but I just wanted to raise that.
So maybe just we don't have it on the work plan to deliver that for the September meeting. Appreciate the view, Kate. Our thoughts were that that's you're talking about using it now to set it up, and I understand that our thinking was this group's long term for the entire period that the plan will be developed, and it was in the work program to bring that report back early in the new training. We would struggle with the current agenda we have for September and the work that team's undertaking to bring that paper back early.
Yeah, I think we've confirmed 2 councillors for that group.
No, it was more assisting in developing what the reference group what it might look like rather than membership, but that's fine.
Thank you. Has anybody else got any other points around the actions? No other comments. We can move on to matters for consideration. Today we have a very full agenda with one matter for consideration, which is ideal. So item 9.1, the implementation plan for the Dunedin Future Development Strategy. And I believe we're going to be joined by Anita online, and we have Fleur and Iffy. Welcome to the top of the table. The Future Development Strategy was jointly developed by the DCC and ORC during this triennium in accordance with the visions of the National Policy Statement of Urban Development. The plan was adopted by both councils in April 2024. Since then, the staff from both councils have been working on an implementation plan that is to be delivered over the short, medium and long-term period to match funding streams associated with the infrastructure strategies which are contained within the Future Development Strategy. This paper asks the councils to note the implementation plan going forward. So that's my brief introduction. So I'll hand over to Fleur to give us a fuller version. Thanks. Fleur?
Morena. I'm not sure. Yes, it is working. Yeah, thanks for the introduction. Effectively, this is just recording in a single document what the LTP commitments were for ORC and DCC that are in the Future Development Strategy. No new decisions are to be made, and just a note that Dunedin City Council noted this a very similar paper yesterday at their council meeting. But you're happy to take any questions.
Do we have any questions for Fleur and the team? Kate?
Thank you. And maybe I'm out of step slightly with this. The government at the moment has got restrictions on funding for transport, and that's the main input we have into this. My question is about us being in the best position should funding become available to make sure that we can and have what they used to call, and I hate the term shovel ready because some places don't need a shovel at all, shovel ready projects that can meet aspirations. Now it is really clear on a whole lot of accounts that transport is a no-brainer for investment if money becomes available. And so I suppose while we've got some projects that obviously in the report, I think it's I can't remember the paragraph number name. I think you've highlighted them in the report in 9 that we can't deliver. What will we be doing or should we be considering in light of that opportunity while we're not actually implementing it?
So I might take that if that's okay. So obviously, Councillor Wilson, you'll be aware of the Dunedin Fares and Frequencies business case that sets out a lot of the work. We don't have any specific work planned or budgeted in terms of work around these frequencies of services. That's not something that we've been tasked to do at this point in time, but we do have that bigger piece of the Fares and Frequencies business case.
Yeah, well, I think that business case gives us the foundation of the work to be able to turn around a proposal for entity quickly. It's not those changes in terms of frequencies aren't significant in terms of network remodeling. So if the GPS changed and there was funding available and this council was of a mind to action some of these, then I think we've got most of what we need to turn it around quite quickly.
That's great to know. That's assuring. Good, thank you. Reassuring.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. If you
Just to add to it, this implementation plan will be updated annually when the budget changes. There will be lots of opportunity to update it as we can.
do we have any other questions? No, Councillor Moore.
I'm not sure whether that's working either, but anyway, I'll talk loudly until it warms up.
wee bit similar to Kate's question. I'm just wondering, should we be not only noting the report, but also ensuring that we keep the lines of communication with, and this is a governance to governance more of a role, with the various ministers. Obviously, transport would be one, and maybe working in collaboration with the DCC to ensure that we continue to lobby government ministers to ensure that they are reminded about the various unfunded items in this plan, and B, just so they don't forget about us down the bottom end of the South Island. So I suppose I'd be looking at us just adding something to that recommendation along those lines. But I thought maybe a question for Richard: did you see anything wrong with that?
No, it's absolutely a function of for the council table to continue to lobby for those things that are within plans but not necessarily funded.
Councillor, do you have any idea of time frame? You're talking like 6 months or something like
During the next triennium?
that? Because I think if he said if it's going to be updated annually, yeah, so whether that might be a appropriate time to check in. Is that what you were thinking?
I am now, yes.
We might get somebody to work on wording that for us. Councillor Wilson.
Look, the only other, and again, we can't revisit the FDS, but I can't recall how we dealt with total mobility under that. And I have to say that the report that we've got today and the submissions we got on the regional passenger transport plan has made me acutely aware for the livability of people with a disability, but also their families or their friends. Having total mobility reach is something that we should have highlighted. And I don't want to, I'm just going to raise it now because I think it's going to be interesting discussions this afternoon. But it's something that I don't think we dealt with, and maybe it's too specific. But we got into the increase of frequency of services to Port Chalmers and everything else in the FDS, but I don't think there was anything about total mobility and how important it is. And I just want to highlight that it's a remiss in the FDS and something we should put sometime.
I mean, it's certainly something that we can include to, in the, assuming there is an FDS in the future or whatever replaces it under the new system. I think you're right that in terms of creating a well-functioning urban environment, accessibility for those with disabilities is an important part of that. Of delivering that. So I think, we could certainly, we'll write it on our list of things that we want to do better for the next time.
Thank you.
Councillor Weir.
Just wondering how the implementation plan is affected and how we deal with projects that are sort of outlined and then kept voted down, and obviously especially noting the Albany Street connection and the 25-26 year in the implementation plan, and the recent DCC decision against that, and how that impacts the rest of the work plan or how we deal with that.
So he wants to say something. I'll have a go at that, but I guess it's just what the implementation plan effectively is kind of pulling together what was signalled in LTPs. If councils change their mind about what they're doing, it would be reflected in the next implementation plan. And actually, there is a reporting mechanism as part of it. Obviously, it's not part of this one because it's the first one, but future there would be kind of a report with an explanation about why something wasn't done. But that's probably
that's a good exception. I think, as with all of these plans, they indicate a direction of travel, but are still contingent on independent funding decisions as projects progress, similar to ORC's projects that are listed in here. There'll still be decisions need to be taken by this table around natural hazard, flood protection schemes, public transport, and then they can be captured through future updates to the plan. So Now that's not uncommon in terms of setting a sort of high level direction of travel, but then having a number of independent projects that will still need funding decisions.
Councillor Giffen.
Just in terms of the hazard management aspects in the plan that we're responsible for, or that are shown here, are there any, is there anything in this plan that we don't actually have in our annual, in our long-term plans at all? Or are there things that we need to include, or?
So my understanding is that everything that's in the implementation plan is already in the
Okay.
long-term plan.
Yeah.
So everything, and obviously it's not, the reverse is not true. So not everything in the LTP that might be in Dunedin is not necessarily in here. So it's just to pull together the things that will deliver
Sure.
development in the city.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Tom, do you have any other questions? Awesome. Do we have any debate? Oh, we need to change.
Question over Andrew's additional motion.
I'll second this. Just to make it easy.
Just, move on.
I can ask a question if you want to fill in the time, but it's slightly random. No,
Don't worry.
it's a follow-on to my total mobility. one.
Councillor Wilson has an additional question.
So only just fill in the time. So what I was really interested in the regional passenger transport plan, we got really good submissions from Total Mobility, and so this is following up from that. And I'm just interested how that, how they became aware of the process or got engaged in that process, and yet they hadn't under the future development strategy. But I didn't even, and it'd be really interesting to compare how we went out and sought comparatively submissions, because I think sometimes we think these are the stakeholders in this thing, in this part, but they don't realise the gambit, and so how we sometimes cross-pollinate from our databases. It would be an interesting exercise to see, I think.
So Fleur, I might answer that if that's all right. Councillor Wilson, we're actually doing a debrief of the RPTP consultation process soon. It's just been moved out, but part of that will be to highlight those real successes in terms of that total mobility engagement, or some of those sectors that engaged really well with the RPTP that perhaps we haven't in other urban based engagements, and then we'll transfer that across to the FDS joint working group so that we can share that. The style of engagement for the FDS was different, and we've seen a real strength in some of our RPTP engagement in terms of those sectors. So we will make sure that we pass those lessons across and share that with our DCC colleagues.
Thank you, that's fantastic. And it filled up 5 seconds.
It's such an important question too.
Coming from
Yep,
Chair Richard.
thank you. Just on the hazards mitigation work that we've got down there for ourselves in terms of monitoring coastal erosion, which is ongoing BAU work. Are we monitoring coastal erosion in the Dunedin area?
That's probably a question.
Yeah.
Apologies, my microphone's not
Oh,
working.
sorry,
No,
Todd.
We're patiently waiting for something.
Mine's-
Yes, broadly speaking, most of our coastal erosion monitoring programs are reactive. So where erosion is occurring, we pursue some monitoring, but we do undertake some high level analysis as well from time to time.
Now I can't turn it off.
perfect timing there, Mr. Dwyer, we have a recommendation that's just being put onto the screen. So, recommendation 1 to note the report, recommendation 2, recommend incoming council to the incoming council that Otago Regional Council collaborate with the Dunedin City Council and lobby the appropriate ministers of government on government funding that relates to leading future development strategy implementation plan.
Is it transport only or?
It's just
No,
a plan.
Yep.
Plan as a,
Yep.
plan as a whole. We have a mover for that, which is Councillor Moon, and the second one is Councillor Wilson. Do we have any debate? Do you speak to that, Councillor Moon?
Very briefly, yeah, I think the future development strategy is a really, really important step in planning your future of any part of Otago or part of New Zealand to ensure that land use planning and have a well-functioning transport system in that early planning stage is critical. And there's plenty of examples we could use in Otago where they haven't lined up. So this is really important stuff. The implementation plan, of course, dovetails into actually work on the ground and to try and ensure that those are all aligned and all completed. I think that second part of the recommendation ensures that we keep those lines of communications going, not only with our TA, as in Dunedin City Council in this case, but also with central government, who are vitally important to partner us in many of the funding projects, or many of the projects that require government funding. So important stuff, and yeah, I hope that we are received well at Wellington when that time comes in the next term.
Thank you, Councillor Moon. Any other discussion? I'd just like to say a couple of things. I think it's been a process that's taken quite a while to developing the future development strategy. And it's the sort of thing that is an area that, it's the building blocks of the future, and so we can have a organised future. It's really awesome, and it's really good that we're now into the implementation phase of a lot of the pre-work. So even though the implementation may vary as time goes on, it's important that we actually have a plan to work to, and we're going to start ticking a few things off so that we can actually have a city that is developed in a structured way. So well done to all those people involved, and well done, and thank you to everybody around the table that has contributed. So no further ado, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. That brings that's the end of our matters for this meeting. So I may have a reputation of having a couple of the longer meetings and perhaps one of the very shortest ones, sitting currently at 27 minutes. Yeah. Is that right? 23 minutes. Yeah, 23 minutes. So I'd just like to, before we just close off, just to recognise input of our mana whenua reps on the committee. Although they're not present today, I think it's important that we recognise their input. Matua Edward and Karen. It's really good to have a balanced view across everything. It's really good to have open and honest discussions around our planning for the future with mana whenua and fully contributing. So thank you very much to them, and thank you very much to everybody around the table for over the whole triennium contributing openly and freely to discussions and being prepared to say what you think, and also being prepared to be part of the vote at the end of the day. So it's been a pleasure to chair this committee over the triennium, and I'd like to wish everybody well in the upcoming elections, and look forward to following the ongoing process in some form into the next triennium. So thank you all very much. I will leave the karakia open until the council meeting. So with nothing else to do, we can have an early lunch and clear the meeting closed.